With Elon Musk's continued interest in British politics, for good or for bad. Let's take a look. Elon fucking Musk. He's been living rent-free in my brain for over a week now. He's burnt onto the back of my retina. He's very suddenly become omnipotent. Yet every time I shut my eyes, I've just got his face. Yep, there he is. Elon Musk's face is the face of a man who's wearing a Halloween face mask of Elon Musk's face. So, presumably, those asking for a public national inquiry, which I'm not opposed to, they're asking for the truth, aren't they? That's what inquiries are for, right? The truth. But you have to ask yourself, is Elon Musk really interested in the truth? He's tweeting sections of the J Report, sober reading into the gang rape of thousands of white girls by Pakistani men, factual details of unimaginable, horrific crimes where child victims were routinely ignored by those whose job it was to protect them, where some child protection authorities viewed victims as complicit in their own rape, how some people ignored what was going on for fear of being branded a racist. The truth. Unbelievable as it may be. Then he's saying that Gordon Brown told police forces not to prosecute these gangs because the girls were asking for it. That's a lie. He then tweets a list of all the MPs that voted against the deportation of foreign rapists. That's a lie. He tweets that Keir Starmer once called Donald Trump a racist. That's a lie. Although if he had, it would kind of add a bit of bravado to our soggy bog roll of a Prime Minister. Maybe when Trump's about to invade our shores after taking Greenland, he can shout it from the white cliffs of Dover in his sort of dull, grey, nasal drawl. Lies, lies, lies and more lies. You know, if he's so interested in the truth, then why is he so disinterested in the truth? If he's willing to lie about that, do we trust him when he says Starmer was complicit in mass rape in exchange for votes? Do we trust him when he calls for the imprisonment of Home Secretary Jess Phillips because she's a rape genocide apologist, whilst calling Grant Mitchell wannabe Tommy Robinson a political prisoner? And this isn't a defence of Keir Starmer. By the way, I'm not suggesting that Keir Starmer isn't a waste of fucking skin who is about as likeable as a bad case of knob rot. It's a defence of fact over fiction. And when you're talking about the rape of children, of anyone, facts matter. Or do they? You know, it's an important question to ask yourself. Do you care about the facts of the matter, or are you a bit of a cunt? Because it's one or the other, right? Are we meant to believe Musk when he's tweeting that Hitler and the Nazis were actually left-wing? When he's tweeting that the IRA has lost its bollocks, presumably because they've stopped bombing the English? Or when he's retweeting the chinless, woman-hating snooker ball Andrew Tate? When he's tweeting support for Germany's far right? Or worse still, when he's retweeting Liz Truss? Someone should tell him that anyone who tweets Liz Truss without an accompanying lazy, unfunny joke about a lettuce shouldn't be trusted on anything. By lying about this subject, Elon Musk is exploiting these child rape victims all over again, which just shows the depths of depravity this grotesque, vile, morally bankrupt cockroach is willing to go to achieve his own goals, which are to undermine our elected government and replace it with one of his choosing as soon as possible. He is not interested in the truth by any stretch, and yet the Tory party and the Reform Party and some twats on Twitter are more than happy to allow him to manipulate our national discourse because it's politically convenient for them to use the rape of children to score political points. Not long ago, all they could talk about was British sovereignty, and now they're all taking directions from an unhinged, unelected, lying South African billionaire. Really? This sudden outrage after over a decade of this being in the public domain, this sanctimonious, sudden concern for the child victims of heinous, horrendous crimes is cynical in the extreme. Tories screaming for another inquiry despite the Tories themselves setting up a 7-year, £200 million independent inquiry into child sex abuse and then ignoring every single one of its recommendations. You called for an inquiry, ignored the inquiry, and now you're calling for another inquiry. Why? Because if Starmer says no, it makes him look a bit rapey, doesn't it? Rubbing your hands with glee because you don't like Keir Starmer, that doesn't make you a champion for the child victims of rape or the truth. It makes you either easily manipulated or a political opportunist. Ask yourself this: are you really interested in the truth? Or do you dislike Keir Starmer so much that you're willing to believe the ill-informed, adolescent, rambling wank of a wannabe Martian over people who actually know what they're talking about? People like Andrew Norfolk, the guy who spent 4 years exposing this story, who says Keir Starmer is personally responsible for changing the rules for prosecuting this type of crime, leading to a huge increase in convictions. Or Professor J, author of the eponymous J Report, who says we need action, not yet another inquiry. I think her opinion is worth more than Musk's. And that's not to say that you have to agree with that opinion. By the way, maybe you think you can do both. You can implement all of the J Report's recommendations whilst also finding out who knew what and when. Maybe you think just making changes isn't enough. You also have to hold people accountable. Fine. But I don't believe for 1 second that another inquiry would find Starmer or Phillips responsible or complicit in these crimes or the alleged cover-up of them. But, you know, I might be wrong about that, of course. So, okay, actually, yeah, let's have another inquiry and find out. Fine, okay. Yeah. Yes, Elon Musk is becoming more and more involved and outspoken over European politics, and just 9 days out from Donald Trump's inauguration, many of